what kills me is they're talking about the Patriot Act being gone today. And we just heard from Rand Paul, it's not gone. It's just not gone. They're not going to. It's going to take a president being in there and stopping this.
And years in office to try to unwind all the things that have been built. As he mentioned, executive orders and other side programs and things that they haven't even disclosed yet. I mean, Edward Snowden's, the stuff that came out of that, I mean, there's dozens of programs.
Plus,
you're going to do the same thing.
That started with Bush.
And you're going to have to clean house.
Well, it started even before Bush, as you
right? You're going to have to change the culture at the NSA.
You're going to have to change the culture everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't back the EPA off of this water thing and not change the culture.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll just, if they think that they own the water that's on your private land and they can regulate, if you've got a pond in your backyard and they can regulate it, can you imagine the EPA coming to your backyard and saying, hey, I got a problem with the pond in your backyard? Oh my gosh, go to hell.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I could handle it. Now, the other one that's out of control, they keep asking for more and more control, the Patriot Act. It's not the Patriot Act that's going to get us killed. The Department of Homeland Security is not doing their job. Why? Because it's a giant government bureaucracy. It does what giant bureaucracies do. They just tried to go with the TSA, and they tried to go in and sneak things through on the TSA. And you're not going to believe.
No, because the TSA, you can't get anything over on them. You know this. I mean, the TSA, these are highly trained, elite professionals.
Yes.
So they sniffed it all out. Mm-hmm. Homeland Security red teams were sent in as passengers trying to get, like fake bombs and serious weaponry through the TSA. So they did 70 tests, and they were stopped cold in 3 of them. You couldn't. Only 67 out of 70 times could they get anything past the TSA. Only,
wow. Now imagine
only 95% of the time, not 100%, only 95% of the time could they get these things past the TSA.
All right, so here's the...
We are so bad.
We are safer.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with government. If this was a private contractor, that private contractor would be fired and replaced today.
No question
But because it's the government, nothing's going to happen.
No, and it's acceptable to them.
Yes.
And so they're going to keep hassling and patting down the fat old white guy heading from Helena, Montana, where he just visited his mom, to Dallas, Texas, and they're going to take him aside on a random check and feel him up.
Hang on just a second.
Rather than paying attention to the people who might potentially hate America.
This sounds strangely specific. It's a fat old white guy?
Yeah, just some fat old white guy
right.
that they take aside. Oh, by the way, we'd like to request you're a winner of extra scrutiny. I don't want to win extra scrutiny.
You're saying this with passion, too.
Yeah, well, I am passionate for all fat old white guys and everybody who's subjected to these random screenings where they take a fat white guy in Helena, Montana, where you got like 6 people flying a day. And I happen to be the one you take aside?
Why do you say I?
Like as in all white fat guy? Not that this has ever happened to me. I can just imagine how outraged you might be.
You had the TSA play Kermit the Frog with your butt.
Yes. And elsewhere.
Right.
I'm not sure what Kermit the Frog is.
They got their hand up his butt.
Okay. Yes.
Hi-ho. Hi-ho, I'm Pat the Frog.
It's so insane. And then 67 out of 70 times, people are getting weapons through, like explosives.
So what did you... So I've got to go back to this hypothetical situation.
Yes.
But what did they do to you?
They took me aside for extra scrutiny, where they felt me up rather extensively.
Congratulations.
And they took my bag. I just had like an overnight thing, because I was only there a couple of days. And they went through every inch of the bag as well as feeling me up. They didn't even buy me dinner.
What did you say? What did you say?
I didn't make a big deal out of it.
Just make it worse.
You can't.
Just make it worse.
Yeah,
because what do you want to do? Wind up in jail and miss my flight? It just wasn't worth it. But and they're trying to be all happy about it.
Wouldn't it have been a show?
It would have been a show.
Would have been a hell of a show.
Would have been a show. And they did act like I was just, hey, we've selected you for random screening. You just won our random screening sweepstakes. I didn't even know I entered. Really?
And it would
the
be
weirdest thing I've ever seen at a checkpoint.
It would be one thing if they did all this to you and they caught 69 or 70 of the explosives being snuck through. When you're only catching 3 of 70, people really have a problem with having their giblets felt up. It doesn't feel worth it if the program is that successful. 5% of the time, they're actually catching things. I mean, that's...
For instance, flew El Al Airlines. We've talked about this a million times. Never, Jeffy, ever been scrutinized that much.
No.
I mean, they talked to me about everything.
Yeah.
Well, because you were unusual, right? You had equipment
Thank
there.
you, Pat.
unique.
I didn't say special. I said unusual.
That's what the ladies say.
Apparently it
There's
mattered.
something unusual about you.
Apparently it mattered that we didn't know where we were going to stay. We had equipment, electronic equipment with us.
That you couldn't operate.
Right.
Just leave it at we were unusual.
You had no visas.
Yeah.
You didn't have an address.
Yeah, I had a
either
brand
here
new
or
passport.
there.
Yeah, so
you
it was
paid in cash.
That's right. There was a few red flags.
No return flight.
A few red flags. Didn't know where we were staying. Yes, all of that stuff.
Yes.
So, but I didn't mind it because I got onto the plane knowing no one who's not supposed to be on that plane is getting on this plane.
Yeah.
They gave me a knife and fork. They gave me a steak knife when I got onto it wasn't like steak knife night. You know, it's not like, hey, you got on the plane, have a steak knife. But when they served a meal, we had real silverware.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Not that plastic stuff.
Right, and it's because, and not just a spork.
Mm-hmm.
It was because they knew our security is good enough to keep the bad guys off the plane.
I really don't believe that the American people would accept. I mean, you're going to Israel, you're expecting elevated security. I don't think the American people would accept that for a Omaha to Des Moines flight.
I think they would, Stu, if it was done
100%.
to the people you should. Like, they only got the
Not
extra
to you,
scrutiny.
Essentially, is what you mean.
No. I would accept
There's
that.
a reason for your extra scrutiny.
Look, I accepted that. I accepted that from El Al because there was a reason for me
you
to
guys
be suspected.
were doing some weird things.
I'm a huge pro-Israel guy. I'm the last guy to put a bomb on the plane. But there was enough flags on me that they went, you know what? We got to really talk to this guy because this doesn't all make sense. Okay,
and it was a long time ago before anybody would have known
who I was. Right. So it all made sense. That's the only thing I think people have a problem with. It doesn't make sense to pull Pat off. Now, you talking to what happens with El Al is they engage you in a conversation. So where are you going? How come you're going there? You seem a little nervous. Why are you nervous?
You're telling me if your government started coming and asking these questions of you, there wouldn't be complaints. We wouldn't have this line filled with complaints of people saying, I can't believe they asked me where I was going. I don't have to tell them where I was going. We would get the same complaints. And rightfully so, by the way, is why I don't want them involved in security. I'd rather have it private anyway.
Me too.
But it's not private.
It does need to be private.
Yeah, I mean,
it does.
And some places have converted that. They do.
Well, the airports that have the private security, I think San Francisco is one of them.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They have private security. Seattle is another one, isn't it?
I don't know. I should have a list of those. But yeah, a lot of
but the best airports have the private security.
Yeah, some of them you wouldn't expect because there is a provision in the security situation that you can, by choice, go private. I can't remember what all the details are on it, but a lot of airports have actually done it and had good success with it.
They should.
You kind of would expect that. Private usually does it better.
Right.
They're usually not. You can't accept a 5% success rate when you're a private company. It doesn't.
Oh my gosh,
5%.
Imagine again.
Unbelievable.
Imagine if that happened in Dallas, Texas, and it was a private firm. Everyone would be in an uproar. The airlines would be calling them and saying, how the hell are you spending our money? We're paying you and you only got 5%. That would be absolutely unreasonable to accept it. And we all just shrug our shoulders. Well, that's government. What do you expect?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I've spoken many times positively about the TSA pre-program, which I have, and is a situation where you go through some extra security like one time, and then you're sort of generally cleared. So you go through, it's just like old security at airports. You walk through a regular old school metal detector. You don't take your shoes off. You don't take your belt off. You don't take your laptop out.
I want to. Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it now.
It is a little bit of a process. It's a government process, so of course there's a little bit of hassle to it.
It's a little bit of a hassle, but
what do you have to do?
I think it's worth it.
You start out with about, I'd say, 45 minutes of paperwork online. You just fill out a bunch of stuff. You put in your old, any aliases, any addresses you've been at, where you've worked, that sort of thing. And then, like a tax form, essentially. But it takes a little while.
They scan your eye.
They scan your eye. They take your blood type through the internet. Now, you go through that. Then you set up, if I remember right, you submit it, then you wait. Then they send you something that says, we are allowing you to schedule your appointment. Then your appointment gets scheduled, but you don't schedule it. They schedule it for any random time within like 3 months. So you just hope that it fits your schedule, because to reschedule it, you've got to wait again. So then the appointment gets scheduled, and you have to go to the airport.
Yeah, that's why I haven't done it yet.
Where you're not flying. You're just going to the airport for an interview. Where you go in and you wait again at the airport, and then you walk through, and then they give you a very short interview.
But
and
it's great.
essentially give
you don't have to get naked.
You don't need
a card. You get a chip.
You don't need a card or a chip. It's just a number.
You're not chipped.
You get a TSA pre-number, essentially.
He couldn't tell you if he was.
That's right. Right, that's true. But now I will say, if you're not flying a lot, it's probably not worth it. But if you're flying more than 5 or 6 times a year, it's totally worth it.
And we do.
And it happens all the time for us. It's a great program. But again, my point of bringing it up is, first of all, it's great if you do fly a lot. But second of all, it's government creating a solution to its own problem.
Yes.
Like, the government created the problem in the first place of it being an annoying process, and it comes along as the hero to solve it.
I guarantee you, if there was private industry doing it, they would come up with a better solution.
Yes.
And you would not accept that they just schedule a time.
That's true.
You wouldn't accept it.
No.
You wouldn't accept it. But again, when it's government, that is the last resort. There's no one to run to if they're abusive. That's the problem with government. You shouldn't say that's the problem with government. That's one of the problems with government.